Hey everybody, welcome to FBC Missions So That podcast. So glad that you joined us today. Today I have Sawyer Werab with me in the studio. We're going to talk about his recent trip to Mexico with our church, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome to FBC Missions So That podcast. This is an encouraging place to hear how God is working in and around us. We know that He blesses His people so that they can bless the world around them. Join us as we discuss how to join God in all that He is doing. Why is God working in our life, church, and community? It's so that through us, the world will know that He is near. All right, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. I'm here with Sawyer. How you doing, Sawyer?
I'm doing great, man. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here on the podcast with us today. We had some people from that team that were on the podcast yesterday. So you're the second recording. I've got another one as soon as this one's over. So
let's go. Big representation.
Yeah, we're getting some stories from Mexico coming out, and I'm really excited to have you here with us. So yeah, just why don't you just introduce yourself for our listeners? Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you've been doing, and maybe why you wanted to go on this mission trip. All right, we'll start there.
For sure. My name's Sawyer. I went to Boerne High School past 4 years, did band for about 3 years, got tired of that, decided to quit. I kind of worked with the football in kind of an administrative capacity for 2 years, and then I was the student council president this year. So
okay, great.
Kind of enjoyed some leadership stuff, but really got involved in the church here at FBC my sophomore year. Had a great group of friends. Garrett's doing great stuff over in the youth area, and so got involved and just loved the atmosphere and what they're doing there. So I stuck here for quite a while.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me, how did you get interested in going to Mexico?
It's a big story. So last year, I was not going on the mission trip at all. Kind of missed the deadline, and so I speak Spanish. So everybody's like, "Aren't you going on the mission trip?" I was like, "I'm not going on the mission trip." I was really sad about it, but I was like, "Okay, I can't really do anything about it past the deadline." And then Brandon Hines had to go do some insurance adjusting work in Florida because of the hurricanes. And so they were like, "Hey, Sawyer, there's a spot open on the trip if you want to take it. You got to put some money down. You got to find your passport and stuff, but you got a couple of days." It was like 3 days before the trip. This was like Wednesday, and the trip leaves on Sunday.
That's so funny.
So it was wild. And I walk into the youth building, and I'm like, "Garrett, I want to go on this trip." So he puts me in contact with James Smith, and we're trying to get this trip ironed out. My passport's almost expired. My dad finds it in the safe. We've got like a couple months left before I have to renew it. So like just everything lined up so closely. I was like, this has to be like God. This is such a God moment. And so I called my mom. I was like, "Hey, Mom, like missions has been a huge part, and like you said, like mission trips changed your life. Like, can we go on this?" And she was like, "Absolutely." So I was able to go on it like 3 days before, which my parents are usually not that flexible, but
Sure.
they made a change here. But ended up on the trip in a crazy just moment thing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Wild.
Did either one of your parents go with you, or was it just you last year?
It's just me last year.
You. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been to Mexico before that?
I had not. My grandfather lives in Mexico.
Okay.
Most of the time. I think he's technically still a U.S. citizen, lives here, but he gets care for his family down there in Mexico. He's got a daughter with cerebral palsy, and so I had my passport, but he drives through like cartel-occupied like northern Mexico, and so my parents were like, "You're not going to drive down there. We'll get you your passport, but you're not going to do that."
No, that's awesome. That's fun.
So mission trip was the first time I traveled internationally, first kind of deal, and it was great.
Okay, so explain to me how you know Spanish. That's not something that most Boerne kids have. So, tell me that story.
So at Currington Elementary, they have a dual language program. I think they only have it at like 2 or 3 of the elementary schools here, but essentially they put your hat in like a lottery, or they put your name in like a hat draw lottery, and you can get in the dual language program. And so my mom put my name in the lottery or whatever, and I was able to be in the dual language program for 6 years at Currington Elementary.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so there's a couple of us that I know. I know Landon Wade and Garrett Stevens learned Spanish in elementary school, but the teachers at Currington did like a fantastic job in teaching us Spanish, and me and a couple of friends that I was with all 6 years learned Spanish pretty well over those years.
Awesome. That's awesome. I lived in Mexico for a couple of years, so I speak some Spanish, but mine has never been correct.
Yeah.
And so a couple of years ago when I was in McAllen, I went to a language school for a little while. It was designed to be a full-time 1-year program, and I was doing that on top of a full-time job, and so
Yeah.
there's no way. So probably 3 months in, I couldn't keep up with the workload, but it made my Spanish a little bit better. But it's always jealous to meet people who have really good Spanish that have been trained well. So that's incredible, and that's going to serve you well for your entire life. So
Yeah.
did you get to use your Spanish a lot in Mexico? Like they understood you? You felt good about it?
Yeah, I mean, my Spanish is not as it's not as fast and as natural as there because they're speaking
course.
it every day. But it's enough where I started to kind of think in Spanish while I was down there. I'd never done that before. I'm usually translating like in my head.
Yeah,
And
of
this year I was able to I was just going straight to words, and so that was great. But yeah, I mean, I got to really use my Spanish probably more this year. I've been able to kind of speak to the kids both years. Garrett gave me some opportunities to kind of share, write a little message both times I was down in Mexico. But this year really was a different experience because I went in with a purposeful kind of I am going to make relationships. I'm going to talk to people.
You knew what you were walking into.
Exactly.
This
year.
Yeah. Second time, it's a little different experience. You get to kind of build on last year instead of kind of laying foundation. Well, that's amazing. So this year, I mean, I think we might have answered it a little bit already, but what made you want to go back?
I mean, last year was incredible. It changed my relationship with God. For years, right? Grew up in Boerne here. Pretty similar story to a lot of people here, right? Did the whole church thing. I was baptized. I understood Jesus died for my sins and things, but I don't think I fully understood. I didn't grasp the idea of how broken I am as a person and how much I need to depend on God. I was just yeah, I'm a sinner and yeah, I need a savior, and that's great. And I didn't really understand the fact that it was man, I really need to depend on God daily. And so going down there to Mexico and being with people, we were just praying whenever something went right, praying when something went wrong. It was fantastic. And it changed my perspective on how the whole Bible and how this life is supposed to be. And so I went back, not with really trying to meet those same expectations, because a lot of my friends went down there and gained a similar perspective, and it changed their lives in different ways. But since I didn't have any preparation the first year, I just kind of went in just blindly 3 days before, we'll do whatever.
Sure.
I was able to do that this year also. And although I had memories and perspectives and things that ways my life changed the previous year, I was able to walk in with kind of open hands and be whatever you have for me, Lord, whatever you have for me, Lord. And so it was a different perspective. It was a different experience, but it was also similarly changing.
Yeah. So some of the things that you're talking about that first year you went, your maybe the practices of the team, how often you guys are seeking God, you're spending that time. And I think you're saying that by engaging with that kind of daily discipline, that it kind of gave you a different view of the Christian life. Is that a good summary of what you're trying to say?
Yeah, for sure. I just, I didn't think I truly felt I didn't truly understand deep down how deeply I needed God. I understood at base level. I knew all the words to say. I knew all the responses to every answer. But until I actually lived a life that was dependent on God, I didn't understand what I needed to be doing in life.
So what happened in Mexico that made that visible?
Yeah, I mean, I walked down there just living a life in sin at home, right? And not realizing how broken I was.
Okay.
And then I went down there and saw people joyful, and they had nothing. And I saw us praying even though everything was going right, And, when we needed some guidance, instead of thinking more, we prayed more. Instead of rationalizing and planning more, we said, you know what, we're dependent on God for a solution. And that was transformative into the way I do life, because I'm a very independent person. I think like to think analytically and data-driven and that kind of thing. And I'm going to be an engineering major. And so I think about things that way. And so whenever I learned to depend in Mexico, I was like, wow, this is what dependence is. I don't need to be independent in everything. I can be dependent on God.
Yeah, not to mention that there's going to be lots of things in your life that you're just not going to know how to do, and issues and circumstances that arise that we kind of come to the end of our capability, and especially when you're talking about let's just say, for instance, an extremely impoverished family in Mexico. You can't fix their situation. There's really nothing that we can give apart from an encouraging word, maybe a small amount of food that may last them for some hours or days. And then obviously we can pray for them, but that's kind of where you leave it.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's a level at which we all are dependent on God from one minute to the next. It just doesn't feel quite as exposed in the world that we live in here.
For sure.
So you wanted to go back. You wanted to kind of get another feeling for it. You wanted to kind of build a little closer relationships with some of the people that you met. So how did that go?
It was fantastic. So last year there was a lot of, I would say there's a lot of emotions last year because a lot of lives were just dramatically changed. And I don't know if there's exactly anything specific that we did practically, but the Lord moved for sure last year. And so we kind of went into this year kind of expecting a little bit of the same. But it's hard to change your life again when your life's been like already so crazily changed the previous year. Like I went from a mindset where I didn't really understand Christianity to where I understand Christianity.
Sure.
And so it's not like that I'm going to experience that same change again this year. But I was still able to build on relationships with team members. And I was going into it this year where I can purposefully be like, I'm going to serve the Lord. I'm going to depend on the Lord instead of being shocked at how to depend on the Lord.
Yeah, of course.
So.
Of course. Well, there's so many different things we could ask, but let me ask you this. Like, what are a couple things, maybe events that just stand out to you from this year's trip that just impacted your heart and mind?
Yeah. I mean, the first day we kind of poured some concrete, and we always do concrete. We do some shoveling and some
heavy manual labor. Yeah, that's good stuff.
We love it down in Mexico, but the guy that was working, I mean, he didn't really know Christ, and I saw Brian Austin kind of talk to him and stuff, and I was like, I didn't talk to him. Like maybe I should make a point out of this. And so I just kind of going through that next week, trying to talk to like the people around me, even like my friends in the group, and trying to be like ask deep questions. And I'm most recently kind of learning from, especially one of my friends, Sam Mosier, how to ask questions deeply and find those relationships, because they don't just come from surface level conversations. But yeah, we also, I say the biggest event that was probably impactful for me was the youth night. So I was expected, or I was not expected, but I was told that I was going to be giving a message that night. I'd been preaching kind of this same message all week to the kiddos, kind of a dumbed down version of Noah's Ark, or not Noah's Ark. Yeah, no, another boat story has a whale. Jonah. Sorry,
Jonah.
Brain's a little dead right now.
Jonah's story. Yeah.
Jonah. The story of Jonah. I was talking about the story of Jonah all week, and I was supposed to give that same kind of message at youth, and Garrett's kind of started talking. And we were talking about making it a little different. He was going to add some things, and I just kind of felt like the Lord telling me like, you shouldn't be talking tonight. Like I think you should like just let Garrett do this. And I was like, hey Garrett, do it. Find yourself a different, because I'm not good at translating. I can speak Spanish, but I'm not good at translating. I was like, find a different translator. I don't think this is like the moment for me. I felt like the Lord was trying to teach me something. And as Garrett was kind of getting up there, I was getting this like defensive kind of posture in my mind, like I could do this better, even though he's a pastor and
Sure.
he's way better than me.
Sure.
I was like I was getting fed these thoughts in my head, which I can now recognize as the enemy. But I was like, I could do this better. I could have a better analogy. I could, be more engaging. And I realized like the Lord is trying to check my heart here. Like I think that I'm a lot better than I am. Like I need to lose some pride right here. And then that night, like multiple people, like I think it was 8 or 10 people got saved at that event, like after the worship and Garrett's teaching and stuff. And I realized that it was more than just God wanting to check my heart, but I was being prideful even in recognizing that, because it was God was trying to use Garrett.
Yeah.
God was trying to move, and I was in the way. And so it wasn't just about like Sawyer, and he needs his heart checked and that kind of thing. It was like the Lord is going to move mightily, and Sawyer needs to get out of the way. And so unless I'm a willing vessel of God, I need to not be, trying to put on a show.
Yeah, of course. Everybody has to walk through that at some space or place. Any leader, anytime that we realize that not only do our personalities and at times our skill sets make a difference, but how they relate and compare to the people around us are constantly kind of being pushed around in our culture, and so yeah, that's really interesting, really fun little piece there.
Yeah,
for that to stand out for you.
Yeah,
well,
another
that's
God moment. For sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. Every trip has, I'd say, limitless opportunities for those type things where it's an internal heart issue where you're just like, man, I need to figure this out. It could be something like that where you want to teach, you don't get an opportunity to, or you step away and then feel like maybe you should have. There's hundreds of those examples, but it could give you smaller, like how you get along with people around you, the people that drive you crazy. There's going to be, the team was one of the biggest teams we've ever sent, 42 people on Mexico team. So that's a lot of different cars. It's a lot of different homes. It's a lot of
sure.
places you're staying in. There's a lot of logistical deviation from one group to the next, and so there's a lot of pieces to that trip that some of it happens outside of our control. Last year, actually 2 years ago, our air conditionings didn't work like the whole week in the houses, and everyone was kind of hot and a little miserable and trying to figure out how to succeed in a very warm environment. And one of the takeaways was people live in this country without air conditioning.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's crazy. We're so accustomed to having air conditioning, and you go to a place and you don't have it, how uncomfortable it is for us.
For sure.
Well, that's interesting. Well, there's so many pieces to this. So you're graduated from high school now.
That's right.
You're going on to college. Looks like you're going to Clemson. You've got the bright orange.
Got a beautiful bright orange Columbia Clemson fishing shirt.
Beautiful is a hard thing to
I
say.
saw it on the clearance rack for $24 at the Clemson fan shop, and I said, that is beautiful. Specifically the price tag, but yeah, that is beautiful.
Yeah, if you're going to go to Clemson, then we'll let you call that beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think it's the wrong orange. I like a little more burnt orange personally, but it's exciting though for you. That's a long ways away. So let me ask you this question. You've gone to this mission trip twice. You mentioned early on today that your mother had been impacted by mission trips in her life. Mm-hmm. How do you think this is going to impact you moving forward? Like, you're going to go to college, you're freshman at Clemson. There's going to be a lot going on, not only academics, but just the campus life. There's going to be a lot happening. I think Clemson likes football too, so there's going to be a huge sports fanaticism in that college, like there is in Texas as well.
I think we're like number 2 in the preseason rankings. I think it's really big.
We'll see how that goes. So all of that to say, like, how is what you're taking from your time in the student ministry, your time as a student here, especially since our focus is those mission trips, what are you taking, and how do you think it's going to impact you as you move forward?
Yeah. The group of friends that I've had throughout the youth group, I've got a great group of senior friends, and we've really grown in our walk with Christ over the last couple of years. I mean, we are not the same people that we are when I met them sophomore year. And so being able to grow with them, that kind of thing. And now instead of, sending each other like songs that are explicit, we're sending each other, podcasts and sermons. And so Sam Mosier sent me a podcast. It was by a guy named Jonathan Pluto. He's a pastor in Waco. And he had a sermon called Missional. And it was talking about how you live a mission-centered life. So you're not just like, going on a mission trip, but like every aspect of your day should be missional, Sure. And so I think going into college, I need to be well aware of that. Like, college is a place where there's a lot of areas and places where the enemy kind of runs rampant, and Satan has his way with a lot of college kids, and is able to distract people from what really matters. And so as I go to Clemson, I need to be aware of the fact that I have a huge opportunity right here to make a difference. When it is the darkest is the opportunity for me to shine the brightest. And so by living a life that honors God, without, deviation, not, drinking one night and then, deciding to go to church the next day or whatever, but living a Christ-centered life and purposefully trying to make deep and meaningful conversations with people, build relationships. Hopefully I can live a mission-centered life in Clemson. Sure.
Yeah, I think you're going to have opportunities. Of course, you're going to have to look for them, right? You have to be intentional.
Yeah.
But there's a couple things I would tell you when you get over there. Look for a perspectives class. It won't be find a church first or a student body. There's going to be a lot on campus. There's going to be a number of ministries that you can check out. If there's a perspectives class, you're going to want to take it, because what it's going to do is it's going to shape that heart. You've mentioned the word perspectives a couple times, even how you talk about how Mexico shifted the way that you thought.
Yeah.
Well, this class is designed to kind of shift the way that you believe, so that you see what God's been doing throughout human history and find ways to use his gifts and his talents that he's placed in you for his purpose.
Yeah.
And it's a different thing. So everyone that takes it goes, oh, I wish I had taken this when I was younger. It would have shaped how I live my life differently.
Yeah.
Right. But most of the people that are taking it here in Boerne are retired. And every one of them to a T said, if I wish I'd had this when I was 19, I wish I had this when I was 20, 25. Well, you're going to have that opportunity. And I'll tell you, if you're interested, even reach out to me, let me know. I'll help you find one, and I'll even help you get some of the costs established for it, because it could cost money. They bring in different instructors, so it's not free, but it's a really good thing. also, if you're listening today and you hear me talking, like there's perspectives classes kind of happening all across the country. There'll be some in the fall, be some in the spring. But my goodness, if you have a heart for engaging God's heart for the nations, that class is going to just kind of fuel the fire that God puts inside you. So take an opportunity, put it in the back of your mind that sometime in the next 5 years you want to take perspectives. It'll shape you so well, and it'll give you a really good way to both understand what God's been doing and your place in how that fits. So also, start thinking like God's going to use that Spanish in a lot of ways, right? But there's so many different needs around the world missionally. And I love our Mexico trip. It's a great place for people to go, kind of get their feet wet, understand not only the poverty needs of the nations, but just right here in our own backyard, very close to us. There are places, a lot of people go to Cancun, but very few people go to Cancun and see what we see on our mission trips, right? They see just the tourist district. They see just the beautiful blue ocean. They don't see the needs of a 2 million person region that has a lot of poverty built in and built around it. But there's so many neat things there for us to go and experience and participate in and bring lasting change, So that's going to be awesome. There's going to be so many. So man, look for opportunities to see where God might take you elsewise. Like there's, there are Spanish speaking parts of North Africa that would be really unique for someone who speaks Spanish. So Morocco, for instance, or Algeria. There's these places where you can go and the entire city speaks Spanish, and yet they're a Muslim background, different kind of culture altogether than what you see in Latin America. So expand those horizons, keep growing so you can see and get an idea of what God's doing kind of in the full picture. And then as you start to kind of narrow down on your profession and your eventual life, you can figure out how that all fits together,
For sure.
So I'm telling that to Sawyer because he's 18 and he's about to go to college. He's got a lot, but anyone listening had the same thing, whether you're 18 or 15 or 55 or 75, like all of us are looking for how do we participate in what God's doing around us. And so maybe the scope changes in different seasons of our life, but at the same time, the calling doesn't. So we can be fully engaged in God's mission right here in Boerne or to the ends of the earth or even over there in Clemson.
For sure.
And so that's awesome. Well, let's go back to Mexico. So if someone was to ask you if they should go, what would you tell them?
Man, I mean, it will change your life. Be careful, right?
Be careful. Careful.
It's if you are, looking for a way to meet God in new ways, if you're looking for a way to just truly understand why you believe what you believe, go to Mexico and go work for God. Because it's not even about the work most of the time. It's about the relationships that you form with the people, the relationships that you form with your team members, and just the behaviors that you'll engage in. The prayer. I thought the prayer is the single most transforming aspect of the mission work down there. It was just the dependence on God. And so even if you understand that dependence and stuff, being able to exercise that in a way that we can't really do in the United States because we have everything at our fingertips is great. And being able to kind of check yourself.
Yeah, it's really submitting ourselves to what God's doing moment by moment, right?
Yeah,
and so that's incredible. There's some really neat things too when you get outside your comfort zone. This is especially poignant for those of us who are, I would call that kind of affluent, middle class, kind of your classic Boerne, right? You're on nobody in Boerne likes being a suburb of San Antonio, but kind of like it or not, that's kind of where we're landing now, right? People from the city are moving out here. They love Kendall County. It gets them outside the city, but they have resources. Super expensive to live in this little town. Didn't used to be that way, but it is now for sure.
Sure.
And so like you get this idea where you've got a lot of believers. They're affluent. They have what they need. Like kind of they have everything they want in some ways, and it's really hard to get a glimpse of what God's doing outside of our bubble, know, and everyone jokes about the Boerne bubble, but it goes beyond that.
It exists.
There's a Boerne bubble, there's a Texas bubble, there's a United States bubble, and it's really hard to get outside of those things without going outside the United States. And while Mexico is semi-familiar, there's a lot of Spanish speakers around us. We all know what tacos and salsa.
Oh yeah.
And fiestas, and we know what basic kind of Hispanic culture, we're familiar with it. We're Texas. We used to be Mexico, right? Like, so like there's enough, but you still get there, and all of a sudden you're confronted with another world. They don't use dollars. They don't speak English. They don't have any of the things that we take for granted. Like everyone doesn't have a car, and everyone doesn't have air conditioning.
Yep.
The Coke tastes different. Whatever.
Exactly.
So people can argue whether it's better or not. But all that to say that it's such an important thing for those of us who grow up in the United States to get a sense of what God's doing outside. But I'll tell you again, like I mentioned earlier, if you step into a place like Turkey, it's a completely different world. You go to the Republic of Georgia, you don't recognize a few words. None of them are the same. You know, like you go to India, and everything from worldview to faith, to food, to culture, to custom, to language, to ethnic background, to skin color. It's all different, right? Like there's nothing familiar about it at all. And those things are, again, it helps us to see that, one, we've been blessed. God has blessed us so much to put us in this place. And it's really not of our own desire. We had no ability to choose where we were born or when we were born. It's just what God has happened to give us. And so what responsibility do we have to share that blessing with the world around us? So let me just kind of, we're about a couple more minutes here. So a couple things I'd like to ask as we finish. We talked about some big moments on the trip, and we talked about kind of what you would say to someone who's considering going. But what are you anticipating the most? You're going to school. Obviously, that means you're investing significantly into your educational future. But what are you thinking when it comes to like what God's calling you to spiritually? You talked about even sharing the gospel at school, but are you preparing for any kind of ministry, or what are you thinking as far as your spiritual life?
Yeah. So last year when I went to Cairo, a couple of us had already been kind of considering like ministry, and I like, sharing with people and discussing things, building relationships. And so I'd love to do something involving people. But right now my major is engineering, because after Cairo, I expressed interest in ministry, and I talked to a couple of pastors, Pastor Nick Person, who was teaching there, or Nick, I think that was his name. And I talked to Garrett and stuff, and we were able to kind of talk through that. And Garrett said, you can always do ministry with whatever undergraduate degree you have. You can go and do ministry when you're 30, when you're 40. You don't need to do it immediately. He said that's what I did, because I felt like I was kind of bailing on God if I didn't pursue ministry directly as an undergraduate. But he says he knows a lot of people that went a different path, and so I felt like it was like God was pushing me towards the engineering area. I just felt more peaceful about it. And so I decided to go engineering, and we'll see what happens. But I would love to do some sort of ministry related work in the future, whether that means, I go to seminary and I become a pastor. That'd be an interesting avenue that I'd like to explore. Or whether it means I'm just like kind of working like, Brian Austin is a member here at this church, and he does a lot of great work with the missions group. He's a leader in that, especially in the Yucatan trip. But he has like a job, like he works a real job. So, not a real job, but like a daily job that many other people would work. But, I would love to explore some sort of ministry related work for sure.
Well, there's going to be endless opportunities. And just so you know, I do think that it's an incredible thing to be a professional who loves Jesus and lives out their walk with God in a secular environment. Yeah. There's some people in Scripture that did that. Like, if I ask you, did Jesus have a job? What are you going to say?
No.
No?
Did he? He was a carpenter.
Oh, man, you actually
forgot
knew
about
that already.
I knew that one.
Yeah, what about Paul? Did Paul have a job?
Paul was one of the Pharisees, wasn't he?
He was a Pharisee, but he had an actual career, too. He was a tent maker. He literally repaired tents for the Roman army.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Actually, all of the guys in Scripture, especially the New Testament, they all had jobs outside of their work with the ministry. Most of them are fishermen. We all know that too. But here's the crazy thing: is God gives you completely and unique opportunities when you work inside. I hate to use the word secular world, because it's the world we all live in. Yeah.
But
just sometimes if you work in a church, you're not stuck, but you're placed in this Christian bubble. And the only people that come in and out are either Christians or Christian adjacent people. Like if I say Christian adjacent, if they know to come to the church for help, they're Christian adjacent.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? They already know where to go. But there is a whole nother segment of society that lives outside the walls of the church. And sometimes on purpose, like they don't want to have anything to do with the church. And so those are the people that the Gospels say that you leave the 99 to go after the one kind of a thing. Like who's going to take the gospel to them if they're not willing to come here? They're not going to send their kids to Vacation Bible School. They're not going to come to Boerne Bright Light Night because it's cool. Like they're going to stay away from churches. So how do we engage them with the gospel? Well, we engage them with the gospel by having a Christian population that's engaged among the lost. That's willing to love them, care for them, meet their needs, pray for them, and of course share the gospel when God opens those doors as well.
For sure.
Well, Sawyer, it's super exciting to get to know you. This is really the first time we've had a conversation. So like I've been here for almost 3 years now, and I get to meet new people on a podcast like this. So I'm excited to get to know you and pray for you. Hopefully we'll see you when you come back and visit at the holidays. And
for sure.
And honestly, if you're going to be back next summer, you want to go on a mission trip, there's going to be a lot of places to go.
Let's go.
We're trying to work on a trip that maybe is an alternative to Mexico, so that some of you guys who've been there several times might have at least a choice if you want to look at something else.
That was a big trip. That was a massive trip. That was a lot of people.
I don't think we can take 50, 60. So I think we're kind of maxed out. 35 to 40 may be the biggest kind of trip we can take down there. And that's okay. It's great. But we also know that we've got, I think we're taking almost 200 people to Cairo. So like,
it's crazy.
If only 10%, which is 20 people from Cairo, want to go to Mexico next year, like we don't have space for the people that went this year too. So we've got to figure out how to build capacity for other avenues and other venues and maybe young adult focus trip or something like that. But anyway, pray for us as we think through what that means and what that entails. Garrett and I have been talking and already have some ideas, but too early to share on a podcast. So we'll just keep that there. Well, you're leaving probably next month. It's July 1st, so in August you're going to head out there?
About August 11th, I think we'll start our little road trip based on Southern barbecue out to Clemson.
Okay. It's a lot of great barbecue between here and Clemson. So that'll be awesome. So you've got 6 weeks left to be a kid. Then you're going to be a college student.
Exactly.
Well, enjoy it. How can we pray for you?
Man, I would just pray that the Lord would keep me humble. Like I said, I really struggle with pride, and I need to be checked a lot. And then the Lord would give me opportunities to share, and boldness to share in that, that I would be able to make a difference for the kingdom, not out of my own volition, but that I'd be an empty and open vessel for the Lord's use. Man,
that's awesome. So if you're listening today, make sure you pray for Sawyer. Pray that God would just lead him as he really builds a new life in a new place with a whole new set of people. So that's a hard thing to jump into. But it'll be a lot. You're going to love it. It's going to be great.
Thank you.
Well, those of you who are listening, you always know why we do this. It's the Psalm 67, may God bless us and make his face shine on us. But it doesn't end there. It says, so that his name will be made known among the nations and his salvation among all the peoples. And so if you can recognize the blessing that God has put in your life, then today share that blessing with someone else, whether that's in a word of encouragement, whether that's in some sort of kind deed, or whether that's sharing the hope of salvation with them as well. Be the blessing that God's placed you in their world to be. Don't take that blessing and just hoard it. It's not just for us, it's for those around us. So be a blessing to those around you. I hope that this has been encouraging to you. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear more. And I hope this has been a blessing. So have a wonderful day. God bless. We are so thankful that you joined our podcast today. We would love to hear any feedback you may have for us. Remember, Psalm 67 says, may God be gracious to us and bless us, and make his face shine on us, so that your ways may be known on earth and your salvation among all nations. Don't forget why the Lord blesses us. It's so that we can be a blessing to those around us. Until next time, God bless.